Ladies and gentlemen, let me ask you a question that might shake you a little. How many dreams have you delayed? How many opportunities have you missed simply because you were too busy looking at someone else's lane? Too many of us are trapped in the prison of comparison, measuring our worth by someone else's highlight reel. But let me remind you today, comparison is the thief of joy and the destroyer of destiny. See, when you compare yourself to someone else, you are insulting your Creator. God didn't design you to be a copy. He designed you to be an original. You weren't born to chase someone else's calling. You were born to manifest your own. The moment you look at someone else's progress and say, why not me? You are shifting your focus from purpose to envy, from creation to competition. Let me tell you, there's no power in imitation, but there is unstoppable power in authenticity. Let me start with this thought. The greatest tragedy in life is not failure. It's living your entire life as a copy when you were designed to be an original. Too many people spend their years trying to mimic someone else's style, their results, their lifestyle, and in the process, they bury the very brilliance that makes them unique. You were not created to fit in. You were created to stand out. And the moment you try to imitate someone else's journey, you abandon the power of your own. Think about it this way. If two paintings look identical, one of them loses its value. Nobody pays millions for a copy. They pay millions for the masterpiece. That's exactly what you are, a masterpiece. The day you were born, God didn't look at the earth and say, let's make another one of them. No, he said, let's create something the world has never seen before. Your fingerprints prove that no one else on earth is like you. Your voice, your thoughts, your ideas, your dreams, no one can replicate them. So why would you insult your design by chasing someone else's blueprint? Let me give you a hook that will stick in your mind. Copies struggle for recognition, but originals create legacies. If you're tired of being overlooked, if you're tired of feeling stuck, maybe it's because you've been hiding behind imitation. The world doesn't celebrate people who blend in. It remembers those who dared to stand in their authenticity. Look at the people you admire most. They didn't succeed by becoming someone else. They succeeded because they leaned fully into who they were designed to be. And here's the truth you need to wrestle with. When you compare yourself to others, you are essentially telling your Creator, you didn't do enough when you made me. That's not humility, that's dishonor. The reality is you already have everything you need inside you to walk in your purpose. You don't need their talent, their platform, or their opportunities. What you need is the courage to activate what's been buried within you all along. Some of you are waiting for permission to be yourself. You think you have to sound like them, dress like them, move like them, achieve like them before you're worthy of respect. But let me remind you, you were validated the moment you were created. The world is desperate for your voice, your vision, your perspective, your genius. And if you don't give it, the world misses out. Imagine a world where the lion tried to roar like the eagle, and the eagle tried to soar like the lion. Both would fail, and the beauty of their design would be lost. The lion's power is in its roar, and the eagle's greatness is in its flight. In the same way, your power is in what makes you different, not what makes you the same. The moment you embrace your originality, you unlock a power that imitation can never access. And here's the hook that should challenge you right now. Somebody's breakthrough is locked inside your originality. That book you haven't written because you're scared it won't sound like theirs. That business you haven't launched because you think the market is too crowded. That gift you've hidden because you don't think it's good enough. Somebody's waiting for it. And if you don't release it, they may never find the solution they need. So the next time you're tempted to compare, I want you to remember this. You are not in competition with anyone else because no one else can do what you were created to do the way you were created to do it. Your originality is your currency, your competitive edge, your God-given advantage. Stop chasing someone else's reflection and start embracing your own, because the world doesn't need another version of them. It's waiting on the one and only version of you. Comparison is one of the most subtle yet destructive habits a person can ever fall into. It looks harmless because it often disguises itself as motivation, but in reality, it quietly drains your energy, kills your joy, and blinds you to your own progress. Every time you measure your worth against someone else's achievements, you hand over your power. You tell yourself a lie that what you have is not enough. And that lie begins to shape your behavior, your choices, and your confidence. The truth is, comparison doesn't just rob you of happiness. It suffocates the very purpose you were born to fulfill. Let me ask you a simple but powerful question. How many moments of peace have you lost because you were scrolling through someone else's highlight reel, wishing your life looked like theirs? How many nights have you gone to bed feeling unworthy, not because you failed, but because you convinced yourself someone else's success meant you were behind? Here's the hook. Comparison will always make you lose, even if you think you're winning. Why? Because it traps you in a race you were never meant to run. When you look at someone else's life and measure it against your own, you're comparing your behind the scenes to their front stage. You don't see their struggles, their battles, their failures, or the sacrifices they made. You only see the polished version, the filtered photos, the finished product. And you start believing that their journey invalidates yours. But what you fail to realize is that your journey is customized, your path, your timing, your breakthroughs. They are tailored specifically for you. Trying to measure them by someone else's progress is like planting an apple seed and getting frustrated because it doesn't grow like a bamboo tree. Both have value, but they don't grow at the same pace. And here's another truth to consider. Comparison shifts your focus away from gratitude. When you're busy staring at what someone else has, you can't fully appreciate what you've been given. Gratitude unlocks joy, but comparison locks it up. Gratitude gives you the courage to keep growing, but comparison convinces you to give up because you think you'll never measure up. That's why some of the most talented people never see the fullness of their potential. They were too distracted by someone else's journey to maximize their own. Let me drop this hook in your spirit. Comparison doesn't just kill joy, it murders purpose. Every second you waste envying someone else is a second you could have spent developing your gift, building your dream, or taking one more step toward your destiny. The enemy doesn't need to destroy you if he can distract you, and nothing distracts you faster than comparison. It convinces you to trade your calling for competition. And in that trade, you lose the very essence of who you are. But here's the good news. You can break free. The moment you decide to shift your energy away from comparison and toward creation, everything changes. Instead of asking, why don't I have what they have? Start asking, what can I do with what I've been given? Instead of focusing on what someone else has achieved, focus on how you can grow one step further today than you did yesterday, because progress is personal and purpose is not a competition. So the next time you feel yourself slipping into the trap of comparison, remind yourself of this powerful truth. Their success is not your failure. Their light doesn't dim yours. In fact, the more people shine, the brighter the world becomes. And if you truly believe that, you'll stop letting comparison rob you of peace, and you'll start running your race with joy, confidence, and unstoppable momentum. Progress is one of the most misunderstood concepts in life because too often people define it by someone else's standards instead of their own. The reality is progress is personal. It cannot be measured by where your neighbor is, by how fast your colleague is moving, or by the milestones your friends are celebrating. It can only be measured by the distance between who you used to be and who you are becoming. The hook is simple but powerful. Your race is not against them. It's against the older version of you. And the only real victory is when today's you outgrows yesterday's you. We live in a culture obsessed with speed. Everyone wants to arrive quickly, to achieve overnight, to measure success by how fast they can check boxes. But what good is fast growth if it's shallow? A tree that shoots up overnight may look impressive, but without deep roots, the first storm will knock it down. That's why your growth doesn't need to look like anyone else's. It needs to be steady, intentional, and aligned with your purpose. And if you can grasp that truth, you'll stop comparing your timeline to theirs and start honoring the process designed for you. Think about it. A runner in lane 1 does not win by watching the runner in lane 5. The moment they turn their head, they slow down, they lose balance, and they risk disqualification. The race is not about the other lanes. It's about finishing strong in the one you've been assigned. Life is the same way. You can't measure your progress by looking sideways. You measure it by asking yourself, am I further along in discipline, in wisdom, in consistency, in faith than I was last year, last month, last week? That is true progress. Here's another hook that should stick with you. Comparison makes you chase speed, but growth makes you value direction. You can be moving quickly and still be lost. But when you know where you're going and you measure yourself only by your own path, every step, no matter how small, counts as progress. Maybe you're not where they are, but are you further than where you were? That's victory. Maybe you haven't reached the big goal yet, but did you show up, stay consistent, and take one more step? That's progress. The trap of comparison convinces you that if you're not ahead of others, you're losing. But life is not a competition, it's a calling. Your timeline is unique, your assignments are unique, and your seasons are unique. Someone else may be in harvest while you're still in planting. Don't confuse their season for your failure. Seeds take time, roots take time, character takes time. And sometimes the slowest growth produces the strongest foundation. Let me give you a thought that can reframe your perspective. You are not called to be the best. You are called to be your best. There's a difference. Being the best puts you in competition with others, but being your best puts you in competition with yourself. One leads to frustration, the other leads to fulfillment. Because when you focus on being your best, you stop living for applause and you start living for alignment. You no longer care who's ahead or behind. You only care about whether you're faithful to what you were created to do. And here's the beauty. When you embrace progress as personal, you find freedom. You free yourself from the pressure of speed, from the anxiety of comparison, from the fear of being left behind. You realize that as long as you're growing, as long as you're learning, as long as you're moving forward, you are winning. And that freedom gives you the energy to keep showing up, keep stretching, and keep becoming the fullest version of yourself. So never forget, your life is not measured in comparison to theirs. Your life is measured in comparison to who you were yesterday. And if today you are wiser, stronger, braver, or more consistent than before you are already succeeding. Because real success isn't about racing against others. It's about running your own race with excellence and refusing to stop until you cross your finish line. One of the biggest mindset shifts you can ever make is realizing that what you admire in others is not a threat to you. It's a sign of what's possible for you. Too many times, people see someone else winning and immediately feel smaller, as if their success automatically reduces the chances of their own. But that's a false belief, because someone else's breakthrough is not proof of your limitation, it's proof of your potential. Here's the hook: when you see someone else's success, don't see competition, see confirmation. Confirmation that the dream you've been carrying is not too big, confirmation that the level you aspire to is within reach. Confirmation that God is still in the business of opening doors. Think about if nobody around you was achieving, if nobody in your industry was thriving, if nobody in your environment was elevating, you might start to doubt whether it's even possible. But the fact that you can see it, the fact that you can witness it with your own eyes, should ignite your faith, not weaken it. When you look at someone else's victory, don't shrink into envy, step into expectation. If it happened for them, why not you? If they can break barriers, why can't you? If they can rise from nothing, why can't you? The same God that elevated them hasn't run out of blessings, opportunities, or miracles. Here's another powerful thought. Envy will blind you to instruction, but admiration can open you to revelation. When you envy, you waste energy wishing it was yours. But when you admire with the right heart, you gain wisdom about what's possible and how to align yourself with it. Instead of saying, they don't deserve that, shift your mindset to, what can I learn from that? What does their success reveal about what's possible for me? Because often, the very thing you're jealous of is the thing God is using to show you what He's ready to do in your own life. Now, let me give you a hook that will shake you. Success is not a pie with limited slices. Just because someone else got theirs doesn't mean there's less left for you. Opportunity is abundant. Creativity is endless. Possibility is unlimited. When you live with the mindset of scarcity, you see every success around you as a loss for yourself. But when you live with the mindset of abundance, you realize their victory is simply evidence that the table is still being set and your seat hasn't been taken. Look at history. Every breakthrough we see today was once proof that more was possible. When the first person ran a mile in under 4 minutes, everyone thought it was humanly impossible. But the moment one person did it, it unlocked belief in countless others. And suddenly what was once impossible became standard. That's the power of seeing proof. It expands your belief in what you're capable of. Someone else's accomplishment should not discourage you. It should upgrade your faith. And here's what makes it even more powerful. Sometimes God will let you witness someone else's victory just to prepare you for your own. He's showing you the blueprint, giving you a preview, building your expectation. But if you choose envy over admiration, you'll miss the lesson. What you admire correctly can accelerate your growth, but what you envy will keep you stuck in bitterness. So the next time you see someone succeeding, catch yourself before the thought of jealousy creeps in. Instead of asking, why not me? Declare, if it happened for them, it can happen for me too. Instead of shrinking back, let it push you forward. Instead of doubting your worth, let it confirm your potential. Because the truth is, every success story you see is evidence that your breakthrough is possible, your dream is valid, and your future is waiting. The world teaches us from an early age to compete, to prove we're better, faster, stronger than the person next to us. But the truth is the goal was never to outshine anyone else. It has always been to outgrow yourself. Competition may give you a quick thrill, but growth gives you lasting fulfillment. Here's the hook: competition fades, but growth compounds. If you beat someone else today, what happens tomorrow when they beat you back? That win disappears. But if you focus on becoming better than you were yesterday, the progress stacks and nobody can take it away from you. Think of it like this: competition keeps you in a constant cycle of chasing someone else's standard, while growth sets you free to build your own. If your only goal is to outdo others, your ceiling will always be limited by their performance. But when your focus is on becoming the best version of yourself, there is no ceiling, because growth has no limits. The most powerful people in the world are not those who compete against others, but those who master themselves. They know discipline, they know resilience, they know how to keep showing up even when no one is watching. That's where true greatness is built. Competition also feeds insecurity. The more you measure yourself against others, the more you'll feel like you're not enough. Because no matter how talented you are, there will always be someone smarter, richer, or further ahead in some area. If your confidence is tied to beating them, you'll live in constant anxiety. But growth shifts the focus. You no longer ask, "Am I better than them?" You ask, "Am I better than I was last week, last month, last year?" That question is liberating because you're no longer fighting for external validation. You're fighting for internal transformation. Here's another hook to lock into your spirit: competition makes you chase applause, but growth makes you chase alignment. When you compete, you crave recognition. You want the trophy, the spotlight, the validation. But when you focus on growth, you crave alignment. You want to be faithful to your purpose, to your discipline, to your calling. One leads to shallow victories, the other leads to lasting fulfillment. Imagine a musician who only plays to outdo others versus one who plays to master their craft. The competitive musician might burn bright for a moment, but the one committed to growth will sustain a lifetime of excellence. It's the same in every area of life: business, relationships, personal development. The people who keep winning long term are not those chasing competition, but those obsessed with growth. Let's make it practical. If you set a goal to read one book a month and you keep that up consistently, in 5 years you'll have read 60 books. That's growth compounding. If you decide to work out for just 30 minutes a day, those small efforts add up to a transformation that competition can't replicate. The beauty of growth is that it doesn't require you to compare yourself to anyone else. It only requires consistency and discipline. And here's the powerful truth: when you commit to growth, you eventually outpace competition without even trying. You'll look up one day and realize that while others were busy competing for small wins, you've been quietly stacking victories that cannot be erased. You'll stop chasing approval and start inspiring others simply by the way you live. Your consistency will speak louder than their competition. So the next time you feel the urge to compete, pause and shift your perspective. Ask yourself, am I growing? Am I evolving? Am I closer to my full potential today than I was yesterday? Because in the end, it's not about outshining anyone else. It's about becoming a brighter, stronger, wiser version of yourself. That's the kind of win that never fades, and that's the kind of progress that lasts forever. Your purpose is not just a nice idea, it is the very thing that unlocks your power. Too many people spend their lives trying to copy others, chase trends, or fit into molds that were never meant for them, and as a result, they never tap into the greatness buried inside. But the truth is this: your greatest power is directly tied to your purpose. When you know why you are here and you live in alignment with it, you step into a flow that no amount of competition or imitation can replicate. Think about it for a moment. Every invention, every movement, every transformation that shaped the world came from someone daring to live their purpose unapologetically. The Wright brothers weren't trying to build a faster train. They were walking in their unique purpose to create flight. Martin Luther King Jr. wasn't trying to outshine other preachers. He was fulfilling a divine assignment to speak life into a generation. Purpose is not about beating anyone else. It's about releasing what was placed inside you for such a time as this. And here's the hook. Purpose is the difference between existence and impact. You can exist without it, but you cannot make a lasting difference until you embrace it. When you ignore your purpose, you will always feel a sense of emptiness no matter how much you achieve. You can collect trophies, earn money, gain applause, but if it's not tied to your true calling, it won't satisfy. But when you align with your purpose, even small victories feel fulfilling because you know you are on the right path. That's why some people with little material success still radiate joy. They're living authentically. And that's why some with great external success still feel restless, because they're out of alignment. Here's another hook to hold on to. Purpose clarifies while comparison confuses. When you're focused on others, you get distracted, you start doubting yourself, you lose sight of your vision. But when you're anchored in your purpose, you move with clarity. You stop asking, am I good enough? And start declaring, I'm equipped for this. Purpose gives you confidence because it reminds you that you're not here by accident. You're here on assignment. And don't miss this. Your purpose is not just about you. It's about the lives connected to you, the people waiting on you to show up, the problems only you can solve. Someone's breakthrough, someone's healing, someone's inspiration is tied to you fulfilling your calling. That's why hiding, shrinking, or imitating is not just robbing you, it's robbing them. When you walk boldly in your purpose, you don't just unlock your power, you release power for others to rise to. The beautiful thing about purpose is that it doesn't require perfection, it requires progression. You don't need to have all the answers, you just need to take the next step in faith. The more you walk in your purpose, the clearer it becomes, and the more your power multiplies. And the best part, nobody else can take it from you. They can copy your style, they can try to imitate your moves, but they cannot duplicate your purpose. It's uniquely yours, and it will always make room for you when you commit to it fully. So here's the challenge. Stop chasing someone else's lane and start owning yours. Stop waiting for permission and start stepping into what you already know is inside you. Because the world doesn't need another imitation. It needs the original you walking in full authority, power, and alignment. And when you embrace that truth, you stop asking, what if I fail? And start declaring, what if I succeed and change everything? Your purpose is not optional. It is the very thing that will separate you from the crowd, sustain you through challenges, and amplify your influence. The moment you choose to live it out, you'll discover power you never knew you had. And that is when your life stops being ordinary and starts becoming extraordinary.